But when I look back, my mind is like I have two minds or three minds. On the back, there is a big building that was being constructed. When I was thinking, now I don't thinking nothing. I'm not thinking nothing, and suddenly I look behind, and my mind have created a big building about life, about things. How I deal with that?
Well, you have to find yourself, you have to find your mind not behind but in front. Let me tell you. So you look behind and the mind is, building up all this stuff. But there's a place where the mind is kind of like in front, meaning that it's just up there. It's being whatever it's doing. Something is earlier than the mind that doesn't reach mind yet. It's very very pure, like just an empty space, and in that space, this dance called mind happens. And it can have many different plays going on, different rooms going on in the mind. This one over here is doing this, is saying this, doing this, that. But there's a space here that is not at all involved with the mind, although the mind activity can be seen. But this space is very different. It's like it's very different. It's like looking at one of these. If you go into one of these big aquarium places, you go inside a space and you can see all these fishes and things going on, and you feel like they're right in the same space, but they're not in the same space. It's like the emptiness is this kind of empty space. And when you talk about the mind, you don't have to look behind, because if something has to look behind, it is a kind of something. It is something that's doing that, and any something is what's gonna you are going to notice it. It's what I call it. It's in front. It's just in front. There's nothing behind. Something can only be behind if you have a shape. If you have no shape, everything is seen. And so, if you have a shape or a form, something can seem to be behind you, like, oh, this. But if you have no shape, everything is in front of you. Everything is within you. So, the real purpose of any of these exercises is because why we feel that something is behind is only because of the habit of identifying with the form, with the body, and then you feel, something is like, even my mind is somewhere here, something is like there, and
Yeah.
so on. That's in relation to the body. But when you realize that even your body you can perceive, of course, I can't see my body from here with these eyes, but I'm aware of my body. I'm aware that I can feel it and watch it. But when I call that it's in front, it means that all these experiences are taking place inside an intelligent space that just feels like it's empty. So everything is seen. Because we're not used to thinking like that, it feels like, whoa, that's very deep or something. But actually, it's very simple. And if you can see in this way, then you start to see that, wait a second, but whole of this world that I've been seeing from my childhood, everything, nothing actually touches me if you come to see that you are that empty space. It's not something you have to imagine, actually. It is really like that. Because even when you say something is behind, it is still an expression, it's still a feeling that's happening in an empty space, an empty intelligent space or something. And from this place, everything is appearing and disappearing. You got a headache, so, oh my God, I got this headache. Headache came, you were there before the headache came, it's present and it goes. And still the empty space is left. The empty space is always there. That emptiness, I am saying empty space, but it's as best as I can use words. That emptiness is always there. The more you get used to it, because sometimes you think that you're looking at the empty, but actually you're looking from the empty, actually. And the more you get just, whoa, wait a second, my God. Like everything becomes like a tourist. Everything is a visitor. It's just a feeling, a thought, a sensation, imagination, memory. Everything is in front. Everything is perceived. Everything you perceive, and everything you perceive, it comes and goes. So I advise the people, don't get attached. You can observe everything, but don't combine that with a sense of self, and don't go into a shape. It takes a little bit of practice to keep remembering that. But as soon as you start to discover the beauty of it, it gives you, oh my God, it's like you you are kind of everywhere, but you're still in the body. But it's very different, very different. Then you don't think there's anything behind you. If you have no shape, there's nothing that's behind you. You know, there's not even anything really, really in front. There's just things coming up. So I found myself saying recently that everything that appears or to happen, everything that appears in this infinite expanse, which doesn't appear. But I use other words that says everything that happens momentarily in the immensity of the non-happening. And if you can reflect on any of these kind of things, it will keep showing you that, wait a second, the one constant is a thing which is no thing. Everything that is a thing is a variable, meaning it comes and it goes, and it is perceived to come and go. If anyone gets this, you see, like what I've shared right now is the essence of all the scriptures I tell you just now. The essence of what the scriptures are trying to convey, the highest scriptures are trying to convey, I'm sharing with you right now what it is, the essence of it, so that it becomes your experience. Wow, you know, because most things are trying to tell you about something, a shape, a movement, something conceived to be, sort of entertaining or something, some kind of object, some kind of movement, some kind of thought, some kind of feeling, some type of experience. Everything in the world. Nothing talks about the nothing. Anything can only be anything, and everything can only be everything because they appear in the no thing. The no thing is the constant, including it is the constant of it. You are that actually. Everything that appears disappears. You are already here before something appear. You watch its appearance, and you watch its duration, and you watch its disappearance. You know, you're still here. Who are you? You see. So it's very, it's always been for myself, in order to understand things, to try and find the simplest way to see them. Because I find if it goes complicated, then it goes into what I call mind. Then the mind kind of thinks it understands something. But in the simplicity, you can actually find, wow, but it's simpler than simple, because I'm not creating. I'm not using imagination, so there's nothing being created. Just noticing and being clear as to what I'm noticing. And who is noticing also? When I say I am noticing, I'm speaking as the emptiness itself. In the emptiness of myself, I'm noticing all these things appearing. Even the idea of myself, I notice in my emptiness. Even the idea inside myself, about myself, is appearing in the emptiness. It appears and it disappears. I'm still here. So even without an idea about myself, I'm still here. This emptiness is not anybody's emptiness. Nobody can own it. It is this emptiness that is unchanging. In fact, it's not even emptiness. It's a good word. Emptiness is a good word. It's a very powerful word. Why? Because it's not a thing. No thing can be absolute. Everything is relative. It appears and disappears to the perceiver, who is this perceiver? Does the perceiver have a shape? Why we can't perceive the perceiver is because the ultimate perceiver has no shape. It is not any form. And the mind is not programmed to acknowledge something without form. You see? The mind is always have to is like the instrument for measuring change and to interpret, to translate, to imagine, to change, to project, to desire. It can function like that, but it needs something with quality to kind of measure and to play with. But it cannot do that with emptiness. In the emptiness, the mind vanishes. You see, because he has no work to do. What can mind do with emptiness? So if you discover you are the emptiness itself, your mind cannot trouble you. You know, the mind can only trouble the idea you have of yourself. The idea you have of yourself is a thing. And if you believe in the idea you have of yourself, you become the idea you have of yourself, and then the mind can come and it can play with you. You're stupid, you didn't get it wrong, you're not good enough, and you missed out, you were born in the wrong place, and so then and this is the idea of yourself because you're emptiness. And emptiness take a shape, and that shape became a person. And the person is the one that becomes the victim of the mind. And the mind is telling you, but but you didn't show up on time. No, you're not good enough. And yes, you got it wrong. And oh no, please help me. And so the idea you have of yourself is living the life based on ideas it has about itself. Watch from awareness, but not being aware that all this is appearing in awareness and it has no fundamental reality. It has no fundamental reality. It's all just like it's like trying to capture some incense smoke and try to show someone what it looks like. It's just momentary. This is what I've been trying to share for so long, but very few people get it because we have a earlier concept that you're starting from the place of being an objective entity, and the objective entity is too dense. It is too complex to understand, to see something so simple. You see, this is why Papaji told me, if I will know the truth, I had to vanish. What he really meant is you have to be empty of you. But my mind is thinking abracadabra, but you had to be out of your way. You're standing in your own way. What it means, you've taken a shape. And by taking a shape, the goal is the shapeless. Only the shapeless sees everything. You see? And knows it is nothing. You see? Because what is the dilemma of life? What is the big challenge of life? To experience and to survive, actually.
Yet,
But no shape can survive. Shape means time. Object means time. And time means change. But when you're nothing, time means nothing, and shape means nothing. The shape only is our dynamic, it's our dream, actually. We think that you dream that you're nothing, but actually you dream you're something. You're actually nothing, dreaming you're something. But to the mind, that sounds, oh, horrible, I want to be something. It is like that. Yeah, what I'm sharing with you, this is totally fresh, actually. It's like God is sharing something with his own manifestation or something like that, including we are all of that. We are the thing and we are manifesting ourselves in form. And the form is fine. I think, don't curse the form. The form allows the movie to be played. The one who best enjoy the movie is the one who's formless, because it doesn't interfere with it. You just enjoy. But the minute you interfere, you take a shape. You start to say, yeah, but I like this, I didn't like that. You take a shape as the one who likes and dislikes. That is the secret, you see. But before you can really take the full measure of this secret, you have to deconstruct your identity. You have to see it that, you have to see it that it's fine, it's a shape that's created by the God dream and the God dream, our sense of who we are, but it is not a fact, it is really a fiction. And if we are deeply attached, we being who? Being the emptiness self, actually. If you become attached to your own self projection, the identity of the body, then we'll have a great fear of losing the body. But you're always losing this body. This is not the body you was born with. It is constantly and there's no cell in this body that was here originally from your mother. It's all been renewed and renewed and renewed. Your thinking about yourself is renewed and changed all the time. You're not what was given birth to. Even in your form, it's just memory and sentiment, and there's obviously some genetic information that continues. But like your parents are the parents of your form, and somehow sometimes conditioning. When the parents first had the baby, were they expecting you particularly? You know, so it's going to be a girl, but I don't know what it's going to turn out like. Nobody knows. You know, how it's going to turn out? It's going to turn out like how it turns out any moment. It keeps changing, keeps changing. There's something inside that child entity that and growing all that is aware of all these changes. Aware, it's aware of them, but it is not shaped by them. This is what the sages they discovered that. Or rather, when they discovered that, they became sage. You can call it that. Meaning the one who sees, the seer, the one who see, mean one who really understand that, but not merely an intellectual understanding, a very profound understanding which changed the way that we experience. And everyone, it's the same actually. The DNA of every form is an emptiness. It's not a fault actually, it's a play. It's not a fault, it's a play. That just in the same way that all the beings who exist in the ocean are wet, all the beings who took form gets conditioned into believing that they are the form. It's just, nobody's to be blamed. There's no blame. It's an exercise. It's God's play. No, none of the beings can exist without the source. The source is the source playing. I see. Sometimes it may seem like, oh, but wow, this is really far out. I mean, how can I, get to that place, where I am in the emptiness? And because you believe your thought that you are already apart from the emptiness trying to get to emptiness. Whereas I see that, but that is the emptiness in which there's a thought, a dreamed self, saying, how can I return to the emptiness, being perceived in the emptiness, actually. But when that thought, that imagined being, believes in itself, like, wow, it's like, I'd really like to get where Muji is. And this is like, wow, that must be, I've got a lot to learn. I said, no, you don't have to learn anything at all. But just this twist of consciousness or something, and you can more than accept this. It's not something just to accept. You'll see, and you'll be so happy. He said, but wait a second, nothing touched me. Only when I go into the shape, meaning that I take the idea of a self then all these things I can write a biography about all my existence, and in this period of time this happened to me and it was so difficult, but I came through it, and thank God I got married and I met this person. I said, but for a sage, I said, it's okay, it's good, it's good. But none of that will go in deeply for them, because the world is made up of a matrix of so many different stories that don't really exist. They exist only inside your mind. And we are sharing some common matrix, where we are living in a conditioned matrix. So we have a culture that is based upon the I. The language of all the cultures is I am the body, I am this person. And that is the psychological, mental, emotional, physical, spiritual, you may say, currency that makes us transact by sharing our stories and interacting in the story. When you hear that it is all a dream, that's what I've been trying to explain. That it's just like we had moments like this yesterday when we can touch your hand and feel, oh, it feels nice, warm hands and stuff like that. But it's gone. You may carry some seeds, some few memories, some pockets, some little things of the memory of yesterday, but it's gone. It's a huge metaphor and a huge truth in this. And all these things to do with the report of the senses and the mind and projection, none of them can stay. They're like clouds passing. Suppose you fall in love with a cloud and say, oh, please stay, stay. The others are going, but please stay. No, it has to go, it's gone. Even the idea we have of our life is a cloud passing in human time, passing. But that which is aware of the cloud changing, that is not a cloud. It's only from the emptiness. And what is the size of emptiness? What is the birth of emptiness? What is the destiny of emptiness? Where is heaven and hell for emptiness? And yet in the human psyche it's very difficult to, because a deep conviction is inside the human expression of consciousness that clings to the form, and the form becomes our blindness. But the form is innocent. It is very necessary to have the experience of the dream and even the experience of awakening. Awakening takes place in the emptiness that is never sleeping and is never awake. It is always pure. And one also can hear this, and it's like they don't have to do anything with it. It's like a mirror that's just showing you yourself. A mirror is not doing any gymnastics. It's not interpreting you. It doesn't have any opinions about, oh, you're looking a bit tired today. It's just reflecting. And the emptiness is just somehow reflecting something to the intelligent principle of consciousness that acts as the seeking, the urge to you may call to evolve, maybe to grow, to attain, to reach something. What is it trying to reach? All of us seem to be in this drive, this momentum of evolution. Where does it go to? Is evolution in the human experience the finality of evolution? Is it the death of the body? What is evolution for what? These things we can reflect on, and those who have understood, they introduce these reflections to help us. Where are you going? Today you're living in answered prayers about yesterday. So now what? Now you have prayers for tomorrow, and the tomorrow after tomorrow. But what is it you're longing for? Actually, we are longing for rest, but we don't know it. We're longing to stop longing. You know? Yeah. And the only where you can stop longing is to be back in your original place. It's not a place, it's not a place, so there's no distance involved. It's not even a state, because states also come and go. If you want, you can say it is a stateless state. And when I use the word emptiness, I've told you two significant, simple pointers to use. One is the emptiness, and one advice: don't go into shape. Because the two natural conviction you have, one is that you know that you exist, and the second is that you know you're perceiving. You see? But who you are, who's perceiving, we don't know. I've just told you the best way to understand me is you be nothing, which is not something you can achieve, because you can only recognize that's already there. So it's not something you have to do. And that perceiving is not something you're doing, it's also happening because of the intelligence of the beingness, which is using the senses. It's just happening. It is the activity of the vital force and the dynamic consciousness. It's constantly producing. But there's something that is not producing. But everything produced come from it also. I don't know if you can follow me.
Something about what you're saying is catching me is, you know, this moment of discovery where one can go from unrest to rest.
From unrest to rest.
The mind wants to say how to get to that moment, but something else is saying that that moment is every moment.
Yeah.
Is that?
It is true.
It's true.
It is true. I mean, you know, if you, if you can solve unrest, you don't have to find rest. Rest is already there. If you remove misunderstanding, you don't have to find understanding. Understanding is already there. So, you know, again, because we give so much importance to going to the belief in concepts also, which is unavoidable, because we already took the shape of one concept, the shape I am this person. I am this, but nobody know what this is. We take it to be the body and our conditioning. But I am this, or I am that, or that I am, is not relating to the body and to the person. It's relating to that emptiness. That's simple language, you know. There are others who maybe describe this in much more complex way to try and bring. I think it's enough to say it's emptiness, actually. Beyond the concept of becoming empty, or even the concept of emptiness, it is there. It doesn't call itself emptiness. You come to that place, it is the only place where there is rest. Everything is rest a while. This is so rest that even the word rest drops off, meaning it's a natural state. You will only enjoy that in nothingness. Emptiness, nothingness, empty. When our culture does not appreciate what is called emptiness, it's like they say it's like negating, it's dry, it's nothing. And because we take ourselves to be something, we're attracted to something less. So sometimes somethingness is the only way in which you can suffer. You have to suffer until you're at least open or curious or available to become nothing. Not everybody can go to nothing because there's something in the psyche that equates nothing with non-existence. And so there's a doubt, a lingering doubt inside the psyche of human being that emptiness is a kind of death. But it's only death to the unreal. There's always some little doubt that, but if I totally let go, then maybe it'll be boring. Nothing to do. If I reach the goal, then is there a goal after the goal? Then if I reach the goal, what's going to happen? I'm just going to just sit around. I mean, there's nothing to do. Because here people say there's nothing to do, there's no place to go, there's not. Oh, that sounds horrible to the aspiring soul. You know? So only the one who has gone to nothing, and everyone is really being trained towards emptiness, to take little sips at a time, so that you can become reacquainted with what you are. You see, we have to take little sips at a time to get reacquired, because then you say, but this feels really good actually to be empty. Then you appreciate it. Then the mind goes, yes, but what's going to happen is, but you know. So it takes time to stabilize in the timeless, because of the habit of, giving such value to the concept of time and need and change and the attraction to the senses, sense pleasure, and the use of imagination. All of these things is the pastime of the being in its expression as humanity. You know? So very, I say simple, and very quiet. Simple and silent. It's not excitement, it's not entertaining, it's total bliss. The bliss of being. It needs no story, it needs no challenges even. Only in the dynamic expression, when we took the darshan of an identity, then we are in the realm of the interrelated. And that's a very diverse field. When I gave the example or metaphor of this colorless light, or you may call it white light, I call it colorless light, that when it hits a prism, then it becomes visible light. It becomes the light of many colors, rainbow. The colorless one, the emptiness, you see, hits the prism, you see, of the dynamic consciousness, and suddenly all this comes into play. And everyone's experience is in a day all of this. You have to have a time when you go into total emptiness. But nobody includes that as part of the day. When you talk about your life, you don't include your sleep. Because human being wants activity. They relate activity. This thing happened, and we're attached to happenings. But we don't see the happenings have no meaning without the non-happening. Without sleep, you have no life. And it shows that when you go to sleep, sometimes the mind is still there in the form of dreams. If your identity is too loud, then even you go to bed, you dream only, you don't get to deep sleep. When you're in deep sleep, nothing touch you. And deep sleep is a metaphor. It is not what the self is. It's just a metaphor in the dynamic arena to give you a sense of something to ponder and to reflect upon. So you come to find the thing which is indescribable. Emptiness is a word. What is the content of emptiness? What is the history of emptiness? What is the religion of emptiness? What is the agenda of emptiness? What is the agenda of emptiness? So mind is not attracted to this, and we are attracted to mind until mind beats you up. When you're overwhelmed, then you search for rest, and to that extent you're open to go beyond the field of the dynamic. Just like that. And with these things, we don't have to talk much more about them. I prefer to get to the point like in 3 or 4 sentences, and it should be enough. Then otherwise, what happens? Our minds want to talk more about it, and so you keep the food in your mouth, you never swallow. If you have too much food in your mouth, you cannot swallow. You have to spit it out. Yes, have enough food so you can chew and swallow. You know. So this is why I say I don't think it's important to keep learning. And I can tell when it's enough. Like you're full enough, and you have to be full of emptiness. Okay. Thank you. One last thing, you see, just to remind you not to be afraid, because in the emptiness, your powers are much more diverse. You're not a stranger to anything at all. But as soon as you become something, you become sort of conditioned. And you have to relate to things within the groove of your conditioning. If you stay shapeless, it's like you can relate to everything. It's such a wonderful discovering. And it is never boring. Except if you let the mind come and says, but it's a bit boring. And then that's belief. So you always have to somehow have to use your discernment sometimes to just, to discern between the serpent's voice and your natural knowing. And that exercise is very, very good, because gradually you come to just to detect it so quickly. And if you catch him quickly, after a while he gives up. Like, it won't come. Won't come. He will only come if it can be hidden. There's a saying that one of the Satan's greatest tricks is to convince the world he doesn't exist. It's a kind of saying, that no one thinks it's easier to deceive you than to convince you you're being deceived. So everybody thinks that they're smarter than they actually are. You see? But this is why I've been recently talking about Saint Kabir's song, when he say, Maya, Maya, you are the great deceiver, because everyone is caught in your net and nobody recognizes you, but I know you. Everyone is imagining, but I'm free to do what I want. I know I'm just this. Who do you think you are? Maya. The belief that you are this is our joy and our suffering. When Kabir say, but nobody recognize you. They think your spell, they believe is their wisdom. So everyone is trapped in your net. But I know you. Good, good, good. Is this what we came here for today?
Yes.
Oh, okay.